Charlie Kirk tribute, Bible read, and Bob Rant. Coming to you very late from Melbourne. I'm sorry. It's been a busy day. I just have not been able to get through. So I didn't want to get behind again where I'm reading about 4 or 5 Bible extracts or passages. And also I'm coming to you from downstairs because it's pretty warm in Melbourne today. And my upstairs office is like an oven. So, yeah, here I am, 5 o'clock. Me and my boy, where is he? There he is. He's happy. he doesn't like it upstairs when it's too hot. So he's down in the cool place down upstairs between 2 fans. So, yeah, hopefully everyone can hear and see me. I've been having issues for some reason with it. Talking of which, I will just double check that on my YouTube channel. Bear with me. Here we go. Yeah, all beautiful. Been interesting. YouTube's working. X hasn't been working with this podcast software. It usually publishes automatically on there. It hasn't been doing it. I've had to link to it. So I usually test out on there on the phone. I can't do it at the moment. So anyway, just another little beautiful thing of the technology stuff. Now, coming from downstairs, we can't give you a view of the bay. It's a beautiful view today. It's just very warm. And my boy, JJ, down there, is very grateful we're downstairs. All right, Bible read time. And how good this? I'm competing against Sky News. We'll see how many viewers I get. I don't think it'll be quite as many, but anyway, a bit of fun. All right, today's Bible read. Do not forget the Lord, Deuteronomy 8:11 through 18. The Israelites were always forgetting to depend on God, and to hear Moses urges them to recall how good God has been to them in the past. Make certain that you do not forget the Lord your God. Do not fail to obey any of his laws that I am giving you today. When you have all you want to eat and have built good houses to live in, and when your cattle and sheep, your silver and gold, all your other possessions have increased, make sure that you do not become proud and forget the Lord your God, who rescued you from Egypt, where you were slaves. He led you through that vast and terrifying desert where there were poisonous snakes and scorpions. In that dry and waterless land, he made water flow out of solid rock for you. In the desert, he gave you manna to eat, food that your ancestors had never eaten. He sent hardships on you to test you, so that in the end he could bless you with good things. So then you must never think that you have made yourselves wealthy by your own power and strength. I think there's a few of us that fail there. Remember that it is the Lord that your God who gives you the power to become rich. He does this because he is still faithful today to the covenant that he made with your ancestors. Really interesting. I don't know. I think I could be wrong here. Deuteronomy. I think that's one of the books. I'm not going to say it because I'm probably going to be wrong. I've been having these back and forths. Algorithms on X are they're a bit insane. If you comment on one post, you then get flooded with posts of similar nature. So, for example, I've had Protestants in my feed that are attacking the Catholic Church. So I've responded, well, big mistake. Just coming in. They're just flooding in all these comments. So I've been in these debates with Protestants, and I've got to say, it's doing my head in. If you're a Protestant out there, I'm sorry, but some of the crazy ones you've got on X, and listen, most Protestants are all very good. They're just like most Catholics. I mean, there's Catholics that annoy the hell out of me too. Candace Owen and this new Carrie Bird they've got over in America. The Yanks especially, they're just the extreme. If you see a Protestant pastor or a preacher, nuts. They're just nuts. And yet they're taken seriously over there. And it's interesting. I get in this clash with some others that are pretty close to me who are Protestants and have left the Catholic Church or whatever. And they're very. I actually had one Protestant tell me one day, because their version is it has to be all about the Bible, which is really interesting if you know your history. So, for example, the apostles didn't start writing the Gospels till about AD 33. So 33 years after Christ died on the cross. All right? I think it's something like that. So the Bible wasn't even starting to be written. It wasn't actually put together until the Catholic Church or the founding, the founders, the early Christian founders, put it together in the 4th century after Christianity was proclaimed as the official faith of Rome. And they put it together in the 4th century. I've only discovered all of this myself recently and published it. It took another 1,000 years for Protestants to decide, well, no, this is no good. We've got to break away. And the two main people that broke away were King Henry VIII, because he wanted to bed a bunch of other women. It wasn't to do with anything godly. It was all about him and divorcing wives, killing wives, getting other wives, all that. So he had to form a reformist part of the church. And then you had Luther over in Germany, who has his own issues in his background. So they were formed for manly desires, not godly ones. So anyway, I don't want to get too evangelistic about it. But every Protestant you talk to talks about you have to be black and white with the Bible. Well, what about the early Christians who didn't even have a Bible? You know, for what, 300 years? There was no Bible. They lived and died as Christians through the church, through their acts, through the teachings that were passed down from one person to the next. Are they all going to hell because they didn't live according to the black and white because of the Bible? That's just a silly argument. And look, I've got no issue. If you're a Protestant, if you're a born-again Christian, and don't forget, the Protestants are so united. There's about 200 branches of it. You know, for Catholic Church, for all its faults, it's still the Catholic Church and has been standing for 2,000 years. So, and it does, like every organisation, has its faults, especially when you've been standing for 2,000 years. They just do my head in. But the reason they do my head in is they actually really preach a hatred towards Catholics. And I don't see a lot of that going the other way, maybe because I'm in the Catholic bubble. But if Catholics were hating on Protestants like Protestants are hating on Catholics, then I would come to the defense of Protestants as well. You know, we all are human beings, and this is like politics. I have the liberty to believe in the ideology that I want, the politics that I want. That's my choice. I'll vote accordingly. I have the right to believe in whatever faith I want, whether it's a Christian denomination, Jewish, Islamic, as long as I don't try and shove that down someone else's throat or disrespect other people's faith. Live and let live. I don't understand why that is such a hard philosophy to understand, but it's just doing my head in. And it's like all these people who aren't Jewish but are getting wound up about Zionists. It's on the other side of the planet. If you want to take it out, go over to Jerusalem and protest. It's not in Jerusalem, but actually be Tel Aviv. Go protest their Parliament House. Why are you bringing it onto our streets? All right, if you're Muslim, go to Mecca. Take your issues over there. If you want to back Palestinians, good, go to Gaza. Give them some help. Can we please concentrate on Australian issues? Bringing on, great segue. The Liberal Party had their immigration policy leaked today. Wonder who leaked that? Alex Hawke? Probably. And little Alex would think he'd be putting Angus Taylor in a bad light. I actually think he's helped him. The actually immigration policy is half decent. They're talking about a restriction on immigration, reducing it, and also restricting immigrants from certain regions of certain countries, predominantly Muslim, who they believe would come here and not accept our way of life, who would bring, you know, their racist and vicious ideologies that want to tear down our country. It's a good first step. By no means, way, shape or form am I back on the Liberal train whatsoever. But it is in this nation's interest for the Liberal Party to come back to its more traditional position. And if Angus Taylor can do that, doesn't matter whether he becomes Prime Minister or not, he's done this nation a big favour. So we should be cheering that on. We shouldn't be having a real crack at the Liberals. I'm One Nation, but I put up yesterday what my voting intentions will be federally and state-wise. And I'm so rapt to see that One Nation is polling in the 20s in Victoria. Unbelievable. I haven't seen anything like that. Now, One Nation is usually, down 1-2%, if that. All of a sudden, they're at 20%. There's a quiet revolution going on. And basically, it's going to mean that in Victoria, in this state election, the ALP is going to get smacked. The Liberals will probably win more by default than anything else. But more importantly, in the upper house, we could end up with a considerable amount of One Nation upper house members who will then potentially, hopefully, have the balance of power. Now, that's important. If they can combine with Libertarians, One Nation, the Shooters Party, people with centre-right ideals to keep the Liberals honest, that's magnificent. We get both. We'll get the ALP out of government, we'll get the Liberals in government, and they'll have to govern towards the centre-right rather than towards the Labor-light left, which unfortunately they've got a few there can do. It could bring about real change where later on maybe One Nation, if they can get the act together, could challenge for government. But our first goal in Victoria is to get rid of them. So I put up my voting intentions, and I copped a bit of flack. So federally, I would be voting One Nation in both well, it depends on who stands. But in the lower house, definitely voting One Nation 1, LNP 2. In the Senate, I would be probably voting One Nation 1, Libertarian 2, LNP 3, and whoever comes after that. Now, that'll depend who I've got in my area standing for the Senate. If Jordan Ditloff stands for the Senate, I'll be voting 1 for him, 2 for One Nation. So for the similar sort of prospect is I think there's a far more legitimate chance of One Nation picking up seats in the lower house federally than at state level. But if you can cobble together a coalition of centre-right people between One Nation, the Nationals and the Liberals to form government, well, whoever has the most seats can be our next Prime Minister. I don't really care. And then if they could have a balance of power situation in the Senate that leans centre-right for the first time in just about my lifetime, that would be also magnificent. So, I put that up, and then you get all these creatures who come on board. Sorry, got that news on that side here. Who creatures come on board and go, oh, no, I want to smash the uniparty, majors last, la, la, la. Here we go again. Just grow a brain, understand the preference system. If you're going to say put the majors last, and who's the majors these days? It's not the Liberals. There's a tip. If you're going to put the majors last, you should be putting One Nation last. Keep up. But even if you did the old put the majors last, well, ALP and Greens voters aren't going to put the ALP and Greens last. That means 50% roughly of the voting public are going to keep their far-left lunatics at the top 1 or 2 while we destroy and dilute the centre-right vote again. When are we ever going to wake up? Thank Topher Field and others for this ridiculous way of thinking. It's insane. You now actually have an option. One of the best things about One Nation, which is what's starting to show with Angus Taylor, that deposed Susan Lee. I'm not saying embrace the Liberals. What I'm saying is the evolution of One Nation now as a power in politics means the Liberals are going to have to come to the centre right again, or they're going to die. They're actually, Angus Taylor is saying it. We change or we die. He's said those words. They're all saying it. They understand they can't keep going down the Malcolm Turnbull-like bullshit road, which I'll get to in a minute. So One Nation is dragging the Liberals, kicking and screaming, back to their base, and hopefully it stays that way. That's a good thing. And if over the next 2 years they can prove that they can come back and be legitimate there, we should be putting them high in the preferences. We want those sort of people in that parliament. We want to get rid of the lunatic left. So our politics has changed. You've got to change your thinking. And if you're an LNP voter out there and you're thinking about putting One Nation last, grow up. Put them second. Get the centre-right parties there. Now, on that, I have to say, I've been watching the English politics, and Restore UK is now launched, and it's fantastic over there that a bunch of the centre-right parties now are standing down or merging with Restore UK to give English voters a clear option at their next election. My tip, Restore will overtake Reform. Restore have a much stronger immigration policy, and the English are salivating. They've got deportations. all sorts of things coming up and targeting, making stronger borders, everything. Nigel Farage won't commit to deportation, says it's impossible. Rupert Lowe, if you don't know him, he's the guy who's heading up Restore UK. He say he'll do it. And now he's got a bunch of other centre-right minor parties joining forces with him. I wish our centre-right major parties would do the same with One Nation. It's time to unite the centre-right. We've got that chance. Now, after the last election, I've pretty much given up on it. But here's something we can thank Susan Ley for. The fact she got in bed on those hate speech laws has brought this about. It was already coming, but it just brought it on quicker. And now we're looking at some amazing things. I just hope they do not stuff it up. For the first time in a long time, I can actually see centre-right, conservative/libertarian government coming back into foe. It's coming back into, reality, both federally and state level. And it's magnificent to see. We may have to tolerate another few years, but at least now we have an opposition. And if at both state and federal level they can gain the balance of power, it's going to dilute the damage the left can do to this country. And then we build again and build again. So I think it's great. Speaking of miserable ghost, Malcolm Turnbull. Oh, my God. When are the Liberal Party, Liberals, you want us to trust you again? Target Malcolm Turnbull, target Matthew Keane, target Alex Hawke, target the faceless man behind the New South Wales Liberal, and kick him out of your party. That would go a long way for people to take a second look at your party. But he comes out and he bags Angus Taylor as an idiot. The idiot is Malcolm Turnbull. The narcissistic idiot is Turnbull, who decided to stab one of our most successful leaders in the back in Abbott, and then went in and decimated his majority in the lower house and would have lost government had he stayed as Prime Minister. The Liberals managed to get another 3 years, but instead of replacing him with a Conservative, they replaced him with a Muppet in Scott Morrison. So kick him out, let him go form his teal party with his little teal friends, and let's see how he goes. Because I don't think he'll go very well. Most people, I think on both the left and right, can't stand the maggot. So it's about time he went. So anyway, so there's a good enough rant for one day. Last thing. I see that Elbow comes out and says the police shouldn't have got rid of those guys, the Islamic guys doing their prayer in a public place. Yeah, we know which side Elbow's on, don't we? He'll do anything to keep his Islamic electorates happy. And I say power to you, New South Wales Police. The only problem I have is you weren't quick enough doing it. Arrest them. To me, that's equivalent to hate speech. That's a person who's trying to force their faith onto others through public pressure, via public demonstrations of their faith. Should not be tolerated. And I would say the same thing if that was a Jewish group, a Christian group, whatever. If you want to have your political protest, have it, but don't bring religion into it. Just the last bit of rant. Anyway, that's it from me from another day. So God bless your kids. God bless your grandkids. God bless your pets. God bless that flag. Here comes my baby. All right, JJ, come on. He's going to get there. He is. He's always, come here. Where's he gone? Which side are you going? There he is. Always knows when it's time to say bye. Always comes up. He's a good boy. We will see you all tomorrow. All right. Good night. Enjoy your evening. Or good afternoon, I should say. See you guys.